Okay, we have seen the enzyme immobilization. So another two lecture videos I will share for effect of mass transfer on enzyme immobilization. Good morning all. So in this lecture number 23, we will discuss about cell cultivation. So some of the portions which are required coming under this model of microbial cell cultivation, we have been already discussed in the lecture 1 to 10 in detail also. Okay, what is bacteria, what is animal kingdom, what are the different type of microbe life organisms are there, how, what is the growth medium, all that have been discussed, even the penicillin production examples, right? So whatever we have discussed in the first 10 lectures, they all come under this model. Okay, so that way we have already covered some of the portions in it. Also even immobilization of microbial cells have been covered along with the enzyme immobilization. Okay, so anyhow, we will just introduce this topic again. So to start with, I'll just give an introduction for this model, cell cultivation. So as per our syllabus, we have cell cultivation, where microbial cell cultivation, animal cell cultivation, plant cell cultivation are discussed, and there even it is mentioned cell growth measurement and cell immobilization. Okay, so they all come under this model. So we have already seen the different classification of microorganisms and how the nomenclature is done, how they are named, all that have been discussed, right? So just to recall it, so we can classify the living organisms as unicellular organism or multicellular organism. It can be animal, plant, okay. So if you look at these different type, you have eukaryotic cells, prokaryotic cells have been seen. And we have seen algae, protozoa, fungi, molds, yeast, bacteria are different types. So some of the examples of how the near nomenclature is coming based on the structure or size or the inventor kind of thing, or based on the end use, how they are named, have been already discussed. Okay, so even if you look at the among various unicellular or microorganisms, two most important one are with respect to industrial application. As I told, we have, as a biochemical engineer, we are interested in large scale production of say various chemicals using biochemical route. So if you look at that, among various microorganisms, bacteria and fungi are most important. So that's why that will be discussed in detail. Okay, so if you look at the composition of the bacteria, again as a chemical engineer, atomic level or molecular level, if you look at, it is again made up of 50% of carbon, 20% of oxygen, 14% of nitrogen, like that. Okay, it will vary based on different bacteria. It is a general composition, elemental. Also, where they grow well also can be vary. For example, for a different type of bacteria, a temperature range for growth and what is the optimum temperature for growth is given here. So you can refer to it here. Okay. So for example, if you consider aerobic bacteria, some of then as per the name, it represents they will be growing in presence of free oxygen. There are anaerobic bacteria which will be growing in absence of oxygen, and there are facultatively anaerobic bacteria that can grow either in the absence or presence of free oxygen, and there is aerophilic bacteria which will grow in the presence of minute quantities of free oxygen. And for most of the bacteria, the optimum pH for the growth lies between 6.5 to 7.5, as you can see in this range also. Here pH is not mentioned, temperature is given, right? Okay, so optimum pH range, I think the effect of pH we have seen for even for enzymes, same is applicable here also. So the certain bacteria will grow between, most of them will grow better under this condition. Also we have seen extreme bacteria, right, which grows under the most acidic conditions or in alkaline conditions. So there are certain exemptions, but in general the bacteria will grow in the optimum pH range of 6.5 to 7.5. Okay. And if you look at fungi, as I told, bacteria and fungi are our main focus because they are widely used in the industrial applications in the biochemical industries. So if you look at fungi are plants devoid of chlorophyll, and therefore they are unable to synthesize their own food. So they range in size and shape from single-celled yeast to multicellular mushrooms. We have seen them in detail, right? So among the fungi, yeast and molds are the industrially used materials. Okay, so these two are the microorganisms which are important for industries. And if we look at the growth, how growth occurs, even for human being, growth is important. So for that, nutrient supply should be there, certain environment should be maintained, right? So for microbes also, growth is the most essential response to the physico-chemical environment. Growth is a result of both. Growth is a result of both replication and also changes in the cell size. And we know that microorganisms can grow under a variety of physical, chemical, and nutritional conditions. So its growth will depend upon the properties of the nutrient or the physical and chemical components that are present. Okay. So coming to our topic, today's topic, cell culture media. The growth of microbial population in artificial environment is called as cultivation. It's like naturally it's not like I told you, that we will be isolating some of the bacteria in certain from any source, and we will be artificially growing them in our laboratory scale, right? So that's what we do here. So the growth of microbial population in artificial environment is called as cultivation. A culture is a culture that contains only one kind of microorganism is a pure culture. We call it as pure culture if it has only one microorganisms. Otherwise, we can call it as colony, or you can have a mixed culture. A mixed culture is the one that contains more than one kind of microorganisms. So there are certain necessary steps required to follow when we are cultivating this microorganism synthetically or in an artificial environment. Okay, so preparing a cultural medium in which a microorganism can grow the best, that is important. So we have to check it in different medium and see that this microorganism is under this condition it is growing well. So such a medium should be prepared well. And also second step is sterilization. So we have to sterilize in order to eliminate all the living organisms in the container or in the water there. Okay, so any other microorganism that may be present, because it even through airborne it may reach the vessel or it may reach the whatever material that we are using. So sterilization is important step, and inoculating the microorganism, we'll see them in detail. Okay, so inoculating the microorganism in the prepared medium. To cultivate microorganisms, cultural medium has to be prepared in one of the commonly employed cultural vessel like test tube or a flask or a petri dish or a fermenter. Okay. So there are, when you say this culture media, I told you here also, that culture media, what is media we have seen. What is culture media? This culture media can be of mainly two types. One is natural, that is which can be also called as complex or empirical one. Or we can, another type is synthetic or chemically defined media. Okay, so the natural media means it's like you bring the same lake water and allow the microorganism to grow, or means whatever source. It's because we cannot define what is the constituents in that particular medium. So such medium is called as complex medium or empirical medium or natural medium. Whereas synthetic medium is, we know that even for our chemical catalytic reactions also, we prepare synthetic wastewater, right? What does it mean? We don't use the actual wastewater that is coming out of the industry. Why? Because it will contain different constituents. But our interest is to study only removal of one of the pollutant in it. So what we will do, we will take a normal water, means distilled water, then similarly we will know the composition of our industry water. So with that we know the same composition, we try to make it artificially in our lab. That is called synthetic wastewater treatment. Okay, so that water is used for study because you have controlled, because you are able to, because you will be doing work for 1 year means throughout 1 year, this is the way I will be preparing my synthetic wastewater. But if you want to study the actual wastewater from the industry, or this wastewater, if you collect, it may have a different property. After 1 week, it may have a different property, because they may be varying the working conditions in the industry, right? So that is the reason we prefer when we are studying, means academic research at least, or when you do the fundamental research to identify or understand the catalyst, which catalyst works best, or what condition we have to perform the experiment. So synthetic mediums are preferred. Same way here also synthetic medium can be prepared. Okay, so how this medium will be changing? It may be in the form of on composition. It depends upon the species of the organism to be cultivated and what is the purpose for which this cultivation is being done. Accordingly, we are going to have a composition of the medium. So as I said, this medium can be either natural medium or artificial synthetic medium. Okay. So natural media are those which are used on the basis of experience and not on the basis of exact knowledge of the composition and action. As I said, we know that this will work, like even for our home medicines, remedial measures we take. If you drink this, it will be all right, like that. So that we don't know exactly what is happening, we don't know the mechanism that is involved, but still we believe in it, and through our experience we know that for my body, if I ate this when I am having cold and cough, I get okay immediately. Right? So like that, for everyone or every system, something will work, right? So that way natural media are the one which is based on the experience, and we may not know exactly the mechanism that is taking place or the composition that is taking place. Okay, and these natural or complex media will mostly contain peptones or beef extract or yeast extract. That way generally this yeast extract is the most commonly used one. Okay, and if you are looking for a solid medium, so a solidifying agent such as gelatin or agar agar may be incorporated into the medium. Okay, so that is also possible with this one. So if you want to have a solidified medium, so we can even add some solidifying agent into the system. And examples of a relatively simple liquid and a solid medium that support the growth of many common heterotrophs are nutrient broth or nutrient agar. So when I say if it is solidified, mostly if you add agar, it will become solidified. So these two are most commonly used one. What is that? Nutrient broth and nutrient agar. And the composition of this nutrient bath will be like you will be taking 3 grams of beef extract, 5 grams of peptone, 5 grams of yeast extract, and add water to make it a 1 liter solution. Okay, so that is a way to make a nutrient broth. So if you want to make a nutrient agar, the same ingredient as nutrient bath, but we will be adding some agar to solidifying. It is a solidifying agent, right? So 15 grams of agar will be added, then we will be making to 1 liter. So if you look at this composition of a typical growth medium, if you want to use it for yeast, for example, if you want to look for yeast growth, we can that typical growth medium is given here. It is, you can see glucose is added, yeast is added, ammonium chloride is there, magnesium sulfate, calcium chloride, antifoam, water, remaining will be water. Okay, so how we come to know this? I told you, already we have discussed them in detail in a lecture also. So there are several laboratories which will be supplying you the microorganism, right? So if you tell them the code name for the microorganism, for example, ICP, I have 2018 is my one of the microorganism code. They will be referring this one booklet will be there, catalog will be there. They will send you the catalog along with the microorganism. If I order 5 microorganism, they may give me this book, or I may have to pay it and get this catalog book. So they will have a complete list of for this each microorganism what is the growth medium. So from there also we'll able to take which medium, how to prepare a growth medium. So it's not like some rocket science. So this medium, by adding this chemical in this condition, but only thing is we have to take care in sterilization, inoculating all these places. We have to sterilize and work. Okay. So that is a way to make this kind of natural media. So if you coming to the next one, synthetic media. So the synthetic media consists of a dilute, reproducible solutions of chemically pure, known inorganic or organic compounds. As I told you, that we can see, for example, you know exactly what is present in the medium. Okay, so that way we can make this synthetic media. So that is like, that's why the purpose is we'll able, the reproducibility will be there, because same way we'll able to make again. Okay, so that's why particularly if you are doing the fundamental research to understand the mechanism, all these things, it is important to have a reproducibility of the same solution, because we don't know if we are, as I told you, if we are using the natural or industrial things, we may not get the consistency with respect to that, because we observe some changes, we will be thinking our catalyst has performed better, but that may be due to the other component that is present in your natural medium. So that's why synthetic media is important for research purposes also. Okay, so for example, this medium may be simple inorganic ammonium salt with some of the minerals and a sugar, or as complex as purified casein with added vitamins, minerals, and a sugar. And these media have an advantage that they can be produced with a constant composition year after year. That's, I have explained that earlier also. Okay, so that, but with respect to natural thing, it may not be possible. And another important step with respect to this cell growth is sterilization, because after a suitable culture medium is selected for the cultivation of a specific microorganism, we have to keep it into a culture vessel. Okay, so but if you are using test tube or flask or using a cell culture vessel, all the ends of the test tubes or flasks should be covered with a suitable closure. You might have seen in the videos also, they will be closing with cotton at the top, right? To allow for the exchange of gases in the atmosphere, and to keep foreign organism out of the media. It's like it will act like a filter. We need air to get in, but we don't want any foreign material or other organisms to get into the or get out of the media. Okay, so different type of closures can be used. Either you can use cotton plug in lab scale, you can use plastic foams, we can use screw caps, we can use metal caps, or even aluminum foils are being used nowadays. Okay, whichever is cheap or available, we can prefer to use it. So the medium is to be sterilized. That is, particularly when you say medium, the medium and the vessel, they all needs to be sterilized to eliminate any living organism present in the vessel. The most common method of sterilization is by introducing the vessels into the moist air, that is steam under a particular pressure in an autoclave. So generally, autoclaves are operated between a pressure of 10-15 psi, pounds per square inch, at around 120 degrees Celsius. How much time we have to do it will depend upon the nature of the material, time of the container, and the volume of the media. Okay, so mostly it is done for 1.5 hours. Or if you are doing it in test tubes of liquid media, they can be sterilized for 15 to 20 minutes. So depending upon the volume of the medium that we are having, we can fix the timings. Okay, but the extra sterilization is okay, it should never be under sterilized. And after sterilization, what we will be doing is inoculation. What is inoculation? It is like introducing the microorganism into the medium. So it is like seeding. So inoculation is the seeding of a culture vessel with the microbial material, which is called as inoculum. The inoculum is introduced with a metal wire or a loop, which is rapidly sterilized just before its use by heating in a flame. I hope we have shown it in a video also, demonstration. So now also I will play a video to demonstrate all these procedures. Okay. So the transfer of liquid culture are often made by using a sterilized pipette. So pipette also should be sterilized. So, as I said, anything that we are involving, it should be sterilized, and all this should be done in a laminar flow hood, because we want to minimize as much as risk. Contamination has to be reduced. Contamination should be reduced. Okay, so it's important to know the proper pipetting techniques for inoculating or sampling during the cultivation. It's not like how do we do our color titrations in a CRE lab or other chemistry laboratories. Here we have to follow the proper pipetting procedures, particularly sterilized ones we have to use. Okay, so now whatever we have discussed, I will demonstrate the microbial cell culturing. Remember, it doesn't take place as shown in the video of 5 minutes. Certain time is given, gap is given, right? So that way it takes time to make all these videos. So we have made a video for you to understand how we are doing the microbial cell culturing. Okay, it's also called as streaking. So streaking procedure, we will see what we are doing. Okay. before getting into this, we should know what each term should be known. As I told you, sterilization. What is the sterilization? It is a term referring to any process of removing any contamination, whatever it may be, fungi, bacteria, virus, spore forms, etc. So even in the fluid, so nothing should be present in it. So that way we are doing the sterilization. So there are different ways of doing it. What we are following here is steam heating. Okay, so heating, chemicals, irradiation, high pressure, all used to sterilize the things. So we will be using steam sterilization under high pressure. Okay, and we make use of an equipment for performing that sterilization, which is called autoclave. So it is an equipment used to remove the microorganisms and spores using high pressure and high temperature steam sterilization. Okay, so what is the purpose of this one? The purpose is to prepare the materials for cell cultures without contamination, and we want to prepare even the elements used for taking samples, like any needles, tubes, containers, pipettes, everything. And also, if already contaminated, we want to reuse it, we will be again sterilizing it. Okay, so how it is working, how the autoclave will work? Autoclave works, liquid water cannot be heated above 100 degrees Celsius in an open vessel, right? So water when heated in a sealed vessel, then there will be pressure rise will be there. So there will be rise in the boiling point. So for about 15 pounds of pressure per square inch, the pressure rises to, means the temperature rises to 121 degrees Celsius. So for 20 minutes, at least if it is a 20 minutes operation, we want to maintain the same temperature and pressure, 120 degrees Celsius and 15 psi. So that needs to be maintained during this operation. So the superheated water molecules rapidly conduct heat into the microorganisms. So that much heat is sufficient to kill all the vegetative forms and spores of the organism. So we are essentially killing the germs or any microorganisms that are present. Then we are another essential part that will be used when you are doing the cell culturing is a laminar flow cabinet. A laminar flow cabinet or laminar flow closet or tissue culture hood is a carefully enclosed bench designed to prevent contamination of any semiconductor wafers, biological samples, or any particular particle sensitive materials. What we will be doing in this, there will be air will be passed into it using a blower, but there will be air filter, because when you are passing air into the system, again air may contain several microorganisms or foreign particles, right? So that way we use a high efficiency particulate air filter, HEPA filter that is called. So that an HEPA filter will be there when air is entering into the system, so which will remove all the airborne contamination, so that within the laminar hood cabinet we maintain sterile conditions. Okay, so these cabinets, the laminar airflow cabinets, they are normally made of stainless steel with no gaps or joints, thereby preventing buildup of bacteria from collecting anywhere in the working zone. We don't want to have any kind of baffles all that also in the system. Okay, so this is an image of a HEPA filter. So it's a high efficiency particulate filters. So you can see that how they work. So that when they pass through this filter, only a sterile air is means pure air is entering into the sterile area. Okay. So then we are doing, what we do is streaking culture plates. So what is streaking? We will be keeping vials or plates containing bacteria open for a minimum amount of time. The most common method of inoculating an agar plate is streaking. Okay, so it is a method of inoculating an agar plate is called as streaking. So with this method, a small amount of sample is placed on the side of agar plate, either with a swab or as a drop from an inoculating loop. So the sample is a liquid. Okay, so then a sterile loop, that is flamed until the red hot, then cooled by touching the agar away from the inoculated sample, is then used to spread the bacteria out in one direction from the initial site of inoculation. So this is done by moving the loop from side to side, passing through the initial site. So what should happen is that single bacterial cells get isolated by the streaking, and when the plate is incubated, forming discrete colonies that will have started from just one bacterium each. Okay, so there will be multiplication of cells taking place. So wire loops are sterilized using a red heat in a Bunsen flame before and after use. They must be heated to red hot to make sure that any contaminating bacteria spores are destroyed. Okay, so that's why the streaking is done. Okay, you'll be just scratching it on the petri dish on the this gel, agar gel. Okay, so because since we used agar, it is like solidified medium. Sometimes we'll use liquid medium also. Okay, so this is what we do. So using that, remember every time when we are doing this, in between we have to show it in the fire to because when you put this in this medium and then put that directly into this where you have the source, it will again get contaminated or you will not have that purity, right? So that way, in between every step, you scratch it here, then again show it in fire, then again streak, then you again show it in fire, then put it in tube, take out the bacteria, and then do this. Like that we have to do. Okay, so we have to repeat these procedures so that you do it across the petri dish. Okay, so if you are using a petri dish. So how we are performing the petri dish, this step is shown here in images. So the flame metal inoculating loop, let cool momentarily. Okay, so you have this handle, so you will show it, then you will put it inside this, then you will scratch it here like this. Okay, so that will be repeated, so that called as streaking. So you will be doing until you completely across the petri dish you are doing it. Okay, then we will be keeping them in incubator. So what is an incubator? Once we have done this streaking, we will be keeping our petri dish in the incubator. So in microbiology, it is an insulated and enclosed device that provides an optimal condition of temperature, humidity, and other environmental conditions required for the growth of organisms. An incubator is a piece of vital laboratory equipment necessary for cultivation of microorganisms under artificial conditions. An incubator can be used for cultivation of both unicellular as well as multicellular organisms. They are based on the concept that when the organisms are provided with the optimum conditions of temperature, humidity, oxygen, CO2 levels, they grow and divide to form more organisms more efficiently, right? So also in an incubator, a thermostat will be there which will maintain a constant temperature, which you can read it through a display meter. Okay. Also, it is insulated from the outside, which creates an isolated condition inside the cabinet, which allows the microbes to grow efficiently. And other than this temperature, there are parameters like humidity and airflow also maintained using different mechanisms that will give an environment similar to a natural environment that is required for a microorganism to grow more effectively. Okay. Also, we have to maintain certain concentration of CO2, pH, humidity. Also, some of the variations in the incubator is there. There are shaking incubators also available, which allows for the continuous movement of the culture required for cell aeration and solubility studies. This shaking incubators are used when you are doing it in liquid medium. Okay, when we use the agar gel, it is like solidified thing medium. For that, shaking is not mandatory. But if you are using it in liquid medium, streaking in a liquid medium, that what will happen, if you shake the incubator, you will have a better mass transfer and it will help the microorganism to grow. Okay, so if all the parameters are met, this petri dish cultures will be placed on the perforated shelves upside down, that is media at the uppermost. So this is necessary because if the plates are incubated normally, condensation collects on the surface of the medium and prevents the formation of isolated colonies. So we may have to incubate these petri dish for several days. Until then, these plates are sealed with adhesive tapes or placed in a plastic bags or plastic food containers. Now we will see the video which we have done it for you. Okay, so we have prepared this video for you to demonstrate. Just listen to it.
After perfectly cleaning these petri plates, we have to make the agar-agar solution, and then we have to sterilize it in these two in autoclave. So we are going to keep this in autoclave.
It's a typical autoclave which we are using in chemical and biochemical engineering laboratories.
This autoclave works the conditions of 121 degrees centigrade at 15 psi. And we'll close this autoclave. We'll close this autoclave and we'll start the autoclave. This will take time of nearly 45 minutes to 60 minutes or 1 hour. Mm, 121 degrees centigrade at 15 psi.
As you told, the
And,
time varies
close
between
this
20 minutes
autoclave.
to whatever time
Close this
required for a
autoclave and
particular
we'll
video.
start the autoclave. Time of nearly 45 minutes to 60 minutes or 1 hour.
Okay, once we autoclave, that is what we are doing in autoclave. We are sterilizing the petri dishes as well as the vessels that we are going to use.
After sterilizing petri plates and medium in autoclave, these will be further sent to laminar flow cabinet for further sterilization. The microorganism that is used here is this Pichia pastoris.
So this is a microorganism which we are going to make use to streak. Okay, that is, it will be inoculated. It will be introduced into the medium, which is taken as liquid medium, right? No, as we told, actually in that we have shown that after taking out of autoclave, it was kept somewhere else, right? We even should not do that. We should directly take, as at the earliest, it should be kept inside the laminar hood chamber. Okay, directly from the autoclave. Once you take out, keep it inside this one. Okay.
The petri plates and the medium are further sterilized under UV light in laminar flow hood.
So additionally, we have a UV light sterilization. We have seen different types of sterilization. Already using high pressure and steam, it was sterilized. Again, additionally, using UV light, it is sterilized. Now we made the flame ready so that every time we introduce this thing.
Starting this process, we are going to heat this inoculating loop so that the stick becomes red in color.
We have to make this tip red color.
See, now this stick has become red in color. Now we can stop heating this.
So we take the microorganism source, which is
the microorganism that we are going to use. And let's remove the packing of these petri plates. So these are the two petri plates in which I am going to steep this microorganism, and this is the agar-agar solution.
You can see that how the tip is closed with cotton, again with paper, then again with aluminum foil. So all this to avoid any foreign materials to enter into the medium or even the microorganism escaping out of this container.
We have to pour this agar-agar solution into these petri plates.
Okay, after pouring this, we are going to shake this microorganism.
A little bit of this, it's like taking out ice cream from the plate, ice cream balls.
We have taken a little bit of this microorganism and then we are going to shake here in a zigzag manner.
You have to just introduce it like zigzag motion.
After shaking in this petri plate, we are going to shake in another petri plate. Again, we are shaking this in zigzag manner. So after shaking this, this process of shaking in this petri plate is completed, and then we are going to close this. Again, we have to heat this inoculate so that it becomes red hot.
So this streaking part is done. Next, it has to be kept in an incubator. So we have an incubator in our laboratory.
After shaking in petri plates, first we have to program this incubation chamber to the required temperature and time for which incubation will be taking place, and then we'll keep these petri plates inside this incubation chamber.
Okay, so this demonstration shows you how cell growth is happening, where we have to, what are the protocols we have to follow, what are the equipments that are being used, right? So to grow, allow a growth of cell microorganisms in an artificial way. Just remember, they are growing in naturally in their own resources, right? At sources, they are growing naturally, but what we are doing is artificially we are trying to grow them for our industrial usage, right? So this has to be done very carefully, systematically, and without any contamination. As I told in the previous lecture also, if there is even small contamination, small lethargicness or a little bit of carelessness, if it is contaminated, if for example to make this thing we took say 3 days, 4 days, means whatever at the end of fourth day, if I take it out, I switch it off, there is power cut, we couldn't do it, or somebody came and touched it, or some foreign particle has reached this, so it is going to be waste. We have to just throw it away, scrap, and we have to start again fresh. We have to perform the procedure fully again. So that way we have to be very careful whenever we do these kind of experiments, or when in industry also a care should be taken. So it's not unlike other chemical processes. Okay, so here it's more than the safety, it is about the process also important for the microbial growth. Okay, so I hope this demonstration is useful to you. In the next lecture, we will discuss about the cell growth measurement of cell numbers, measurement of cell mass, and the cell population kinetics in a reactor like batch reactor. When you are performing the kinetic studies in a batch reactor or a CSTR reactor, we will look into the monod growth kinetics, transient growth kinetics, or kinetics of balanced growth. All that will be discussed in detail in the next lecture. Okay. So are there any questions? Okay. If not, thank you so much for joining my classroom. Meet you in the next lecture. Bye-bye. So today's lecture, we will start with the next module, cell cultivation. So are there any questions? We have time to discuss also. Yeah. When we will have our minor again, minor 2, or latest our assignment. Vaishnavi, Manisha.